A woman decided to experiment with an app named Countdown. This application supposedly possesses the uncanny ability to predict one's time of death. Anxiously, she gazes at her phone, discovering that the app predicts she has only 3 hours left to live. Despite a friend's attempt to assure her it's merely a game, a lingering unease settles within her. Following a social gathering, she faced a dilemma as she hesitated to enter her boyfriend's car due to his inebriation. Opting for a walk home, her decision triggered his anger, and he sped away. In that unsettling moment, her cell phone emitted a horrifying ring. Upon checking, she found out she had a mere 7 minutes left. Hurrying down the dimly lit road, a growing paranoia took hold, causing her to feel an unseen presence closely following. Frightened, she quickened her pace. The sound of a car starting behind her heightened her anxiety. Looking back, she discovered it was someone innocently retrieving their car. However, when she looked back again, a sense of being watched persisted. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be just a pile of garbage. The distressing phone tone returned, intensifying her fear. With only 1 minute remaining, she rushed home. Just as she closed the door, her cell phone rang again, prompting her to turn it off in anger. As she was about to take a sip of water, a voice emanated from behind the shower curtain. Attempting to open it, the horrifying ringing started anew. As she reached for her cell phone, a mysterious force lifted her into the air. As the countdown reached its ominous end, she plummeted back to the ground, lifeless. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, her boyfriend experienced a tragic accident. In the hospital, he dishearteningly informed the nurse that the app indicated he had 19 hours left to live, coinciding with the scheduled time for his surgery. The app accurately predicted his girlfriend's time of death. When he himself had a car accident, a tree branch directly pierced through his girlfriend's seat. Thinking that his girlfriend had miraculously escaped death, the nurse attempted to reassure him. However, he solemnly informed the nurse that his girlfriend had indeed passed away. The nurse, trying to comfort him, insisted that it must be a prank. The man could only return to his room with a sense of loss. After a while, hospital staff began discussing the app. The nurse decided to download the app, which displayed that she had 70 hours left to live. In that evening, nurse instructed the man to prepare for the upcoming surgery. A horrifying ringtone emanated from phone. Glancing at the screen, the app indicated he had only 3 minutes left. Panicking, the man rushed into the stairwell. The knocking sound from behind startled him, and the terrifying ringtone echoed once again. Observing his surroundings anxiously, he was suddenly confronted by the apparition of his deceased girlfriend. In the next moment, the phone slipped from the stairwell, and the countdown reached its conclusion. The man also plummeted. The nurse returned to the hospital, and her colleague informed her that the man had already passed away. She found the man's phone, but it was locked. She went to the morgue, attempting to unlock the phone using the man's fingerprint. However, the phone remained locked. She then tried using the man's facial recognition, but it was also unsuccessful. Subsequently, she opened the man's eyes in an attempt to unlock the phone, and finally, the phone was unlocked. However, all she could see on the phone were zeros, leaving her feeling extremely uneasy. As she stared at the phone, it indicated there were still 46 hours left to live. She attempted to find a solution and went to a store to purchase a new phone. Just as she was about to leave the store, the phone emitted a horrifying ringtone. Opening the phone, she discovered the app had appeared on the new device. She requested the store attendant to remove the app, but the attendant informed her that the app was prohibited from deletion. Helpless, she left the store and returned to her car. In the backup camera image, she noticed a figure appearing. When she turned to look, there was no one there. Upon checking the backup camera again, a pair of hands reached out from behind Bart was a soldier. On a mission, he ran over a child. His comrades thought it was an ambush. They told him not to stop here. He got out of the car to check it out. Despite his comrades' objections, the child miraculously stood up, sensing something strange. His comrades turned off their lights. Bart was ambushed. He was killed here. His buddies brought his body back. Friends came to his funeral, but the forklift went on strike. Bart's coffin was placed here. Joey calmed Bart's girlfriend. His girlfriend was heartbroken and betrayed him. Bart climbed out of the coffin. He didn't know he was a vampire. He looked at himself in the mirror in disbelief. He didn't know what was going on, and he panicked. He went to his best friend Joey's house. Joey greeted him with a baseball bat. After a conversation, Joey was sure that the man in front of him was indeed his best friend. Bart was starving. Joey brings Bart some food. He only took one bite before he started vomiting. They went to the hospital to check him out. The nurse told him to take off his shirt. After seeing the scars on Bart's body, the nurse called the police. Before the police got here, they escaped from the hospital. By the time they got back to Joey's house, it was already light out. Bart fell to the floor in agony. Joey called the nurse, Marty. After examining him, Marty told Joey Bart had become a vampire. He'd have to have his head cut off and stab him through the heart. That's how he'll rest in peace. Otherwise, he'll seek out his victims and suck their blood. Joey objected to the suggestion. He couldn't do that to his friend. Then Marty left. By nightfall, Bart woke up. Joey made dinner for Bart. Bart looked at the food and didn't feel like eating. At Joey's request, Bart began to eat his dinner, and after one bite, he vomited again. He vomited a large amount of black, unidentified material. He could no longer tolerate ordinary food, so they went back to the hospital. This is where Bart was going to grab the blood bag. Just as he was about to take the blood bag, the nurse found him and pulled out a toy gun. The nurse starts to give him the blood bag under threat. He succeeded in getting the blood bag and left the place after drinking the blood. It looked better. In the morning, Joey came home carrying Bart to verify the vampire's weakness. He held a crucifix over Bart. Bart didn't react at all. Then he took out the holy water that the priest had given him. He poured it on Bart's hand. Bart immediately became very distressed, and Joey gets nervous. I didn't realize this asshole was joking. After that joke, Bart felt hungry again. In order to find more blood, they started looking for targets to get human blood from them. After a fruitless search, they were robbed. The robbers shot Bart just as the robbers were walking towards Joey. Bart got up again. The thugs attacked Bart in a frenzy. Joey got behind him and knocked him down. They took the body to the car. At Joey's urging, Bart drained the body of its blood. Finally, they threw the body under the bridge.
A group of This woman is doing her nails. She notices dead skin on her toes and tears it off, from her toes to shins and then to knees, until she has peeled off a layer of skin from her entire body. Her ex-husband brings their twin sons to her. She has a bandage on her head, immediately explains to the kids upon meeting them, gives them gifts, and establishes house rules. The next day, the rule-breaking kids break into the barn. As they come out of the barn, they are caught by their mom and face her stern scolding. At night, the younger bedwetting brother wakes up from a nightmare. He walks out of the room, finds his mom on the phone, accidentally makes a noise while eavesdropping on the call, then returns to his room, pretending to be asleep. Mom's unusual behavior aroused their suspicion, so they began to investigate her. They held a walkie-talkie and hid under Mom's bed. Just at that moment, Mom walked into the room. They quickly hid, but found discarded drawings in the trash can. Mom, smoking a cigarette, entered the bathroom. Upon coming out, she noticed the drawings on the floor, picked them up and tore them apart. This deepened their suspicion towards Mom. They monitored Mom through a camera and then compared photos, discovering that this woman had blue eyes, while their real mother had green eyes. They thought of contacting their father first, but he didn't answer the phone. At night, upon learning that the kids had contacted their father, the woman found the phone and destroyed it. The twin brother uttered, "You are not our mother," and the woman became emotionally unstable. She subjected the brother to abuse, forcing him to address her as Mom. It was raining heavily outside, and feeling threatened, the twin siblings decided to leave. They sought help from the neighbors, but no one was home. Breaking into the neighbor's house through the pet door, they found a place to sleep, planning to leave after the storm subsided. The brother woke up again from a nightmare, only to open his eyes and see the police. Before the brothers could fully explain their ordeal, the police returned them home. The woman was already waiting at the door, having removed the bandage. After a conversation, the woman deceived the police and bribed them with a signed photo. Subsequently, the police left the scene.
This young man used to take pleasure in tormenting the Scarecrow, little suspecting that on this particular night, he would become the sacrificial victim in the hands of the very same straw-stuffed figure. On that very night, he was summoned by his mother to deliver eggs to the neighbor's house. To reach the neighbor's house, he had to traverse that wheat field. Stumbling through the field, he encountered the Scarecrow. After cursing and kicking the Scarecrow, he continued on his way, only to, inexplicably, find himself back in front of the Scarecrow. Thinking he might be intoxicated, he retraced his steps, only to discover the Scarecrow was gone. Gripped by fear, he hurriedly tried to leave. Suddenly, the Scarecrow reappeared before him, startling him to the ground. The Scarecrow advanced slowly. Desperately attempting to escape, he tripped over a pitchfork. He grabbed the pitchfork, attempting resistance, but the Scarecrow effortlessly seized the pitchfork from him. The pitchfork pierced through him, and weeds sprouted from his body. He struggled desperately, but it was in vain. The weeds gradually grew from his body, consuming him entirely. This terrifying book writes stories automatically, and no matter how the girl tears the pages, she can't stop it. At this moment, the protagonist in the story is none other than the girl's friend. The girl immediately calls her friend, urging him not to eat anything. However, the boy ignores her eerie warning. He puts the stew into his mouth, only to quickly sense that something is wrong. Taking it out, he discovers it's a toe, making him feel nauseous. Just then, a dark figure appears outside the door. A voice from outside asks, "Who took my toe?" He rushes into the room, attempting to jump out of the window, but the window won't open. He has no choice but to hide under the bed. The zombie is approaching in his direction, with a missing toe on its decayed foot. Fearfully, he closes his eyes. After a moment, he opens them again, and looks towards the door. The door is now open, but there's complete silence. He scanned his surroundings, and in an instant, it felt as though an unseen force had seized control of his feet, yanking him into the shadows. Dragged away by an otherworldly entity,
she developed a massive pimple on her face, significantly impacting her appearance. Determined to rid herself of it, she persevered, squeezing with increasing intensity, causing the pimple to turn redder without successfully bursting. Undaunted, she continued her efforts, forcefully attempting to pop it. In a final, vigorous squeeze, an unexpected hair emerged from the pimple. Attempting to pull it out, she realized the hair was moving. It wasn't a hair but a spider leg. A multitude of tiny spiders crawled out from the pimple, prompting her to scream in terror. At that moment, her friend rushed in, discovering the washroom infested with spiders. Overwhelmed by fear, she had lost her composure. One boy used clothes to drive the spiders away from her, while another quickly fetched a bucket of water, dousing her to eliminate the remaining spiders. It was revealed that they had previously trespassed into an abandoned mansion, taking with them this seemingly indestructible and cursed book.